Both Islam and Christianity claim that the God they worship is perfect. But a claim alone is never enough. A statement of truth has to match reality, because truth at its core is exactly that, correspondence with reality. So the question is, how do we actually measure or test the perfection of God? How do we know which claim is true and which one isn't? If someone claims to be the greatest painter in the world, there's one straightforward way to find out. Ask them to show you their best work. Sure, judging the beauty of a painting is subjective, but at least you'd be able to see whether the claim holds up against reality. We're going to use the same principle to test the claim of God's perfection, that is, by looking at His creation. By examining what each religion teaches about creation, we can judge how well the claim of a perfect God is actually reflected in what He made. To keep things focused, we're talking specifically about the material world. Let's start with Islam. The Quran repeatedly describes Allah with attributes of perfection. The 99 names of Allah are filled with titles like the Most Perfect, the All-Wise, the All-Powerful, and so on. No one in Islam questions these claims. But now, let's test those claims by looking at the work. There's one verse in the Quran that's worth taking a close look at. Surah Ghafir, verse 57, says this: "The creation of the heavens and the earth is greater than the creation of mankind." So, according to this verse, the creation of heaven and earth is greater than the creation of mankind. Okay, let's accept that statement for now. Perhaps it means greater in terms of size. The problem is, where is the peak of Allah's creation according to the Quran? If mankind is not the greatest, what creation is better than mankind? Go ahead, search through the entire Quran. Is there any verse that clearly identifies Allah's greatest creation? There isn't, not one. Surah At-Tin, verse 4, does say, "We have certainly created man in the best of forms." But the very next verse says, "Then we return him to the lowest of the low." That doesn't exactly paint human being as the crown of creation. And Surah An-Nisa, verse 28, plainly states that human being was created weak. And one thing is certain, in the Quran, there is no narrative of the pinnacle of God's creation. This has serious consequences. Because there is no clear peak of creation, there's always the possibility of a creation better than what has already been created. If we ask a Muslim, is Allah capable of creating a being better than mankind? They will certainly answer, yes, Allah is capable. But when asked why Allah didn't create a being better than mankind, not a single Muslim can give a satisfying answer. St. Thomas Aquinas explained that a truly perfect God must be capable of producing a creation that reflects His perfection. In other words, there must be a masterpiece, a crowning achievement. If there's no such peak, we're left with only two possibilities. First, God was unwilling to create something perfect. If that's the case, something is flawed in God's will, because He had the power to do better but chose not to. Second, God was unable to create something perfect. If that's the case, there's a limitation in His power. He's not truly all-powerful. Either way, the claim that God is perfect becomes deeply problematic. The absence of a Quranic narrative about Allah's best creation means the claim of His perfection is not supported by the reality of creation. As a result, that claim becomes very weak. Now, compare that with what Scripture says. Genesis 1:26 records this: "Let us make mankind in our image, in our likeness." Mankind was created in the image of God. Consequently, there can possibly be no creation higher than the image of God Himself. Thus, mankind is God's best creation. Mankind is the peak of creation, not because humans are the strongest, the biggest, or the most powerful, but because humans have rationality capable of understanding truth and free will to desire what is good. With these two important abilities, mankind becomes the only created being in the material dimension capable of reflecting all of God's attributes. No wonder that among all creations in this world, only mankind is able to build civilization that continues to develop. After creating mankind, Scripture also records something very significant. Genesis 1:31 records this: God saw all that he had made, and it was very good. This statement shows God felt very satisfied after creating his best work. And then Genesis 2:2 says this: By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing, so he rested. God stopped creating not because he was tired or ran out of ideas, but because his work was complete with the realization of the best creation. In short, in Scripture we see these three things. God has created the best, is satisfied with his work, and finished with the work of creation. Thus, God's perfection is fully reflected in his creation. This provides a very unbalanced comparison with Islam. Allah in Islam claims to be perfect, but there is no narrative about Allah being satisfied with his work. There is no clear peak of creation. There is no final masterpiece. So Allah's perfection is nothing more than an empty verbal label. This shows that Allah in Islam is not a perfect God, but a false God who wants to deceive many people by claiming to be perfect. In contrast, God's perfection in Christianity is proven through his work. There is a clear peak of creation, which is mankind made in the image of God. There is a moment of God's satisfaction with his creation, and there is a decision to end the process of creation as a sign that everything that needs to be created to express God's perfection has been created. This is a truly perfect God. This argument is one of many elaborated in the book Islam and Common Sense, written for anyone who wants to test religious claims not with memorization and blind faith, but with honest common sense and the courage to ask questions. Get the book through the link in the video description.